Okay, I think we're going to move on to our next and very exciting presentation by Allan Mills, Digital Celerity. The information on your screen now, sorry for the density, Allan is quite accomplished, and this information was available in your meeting announcement that you received earlier. Allan, I'd like to introduce Allan Mills, one of our very accomplished CA community members. Allan, take it away.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody, and welcome. I'm just going to join and start my presentation. I'm glad to be able to be here today to talk to you about version 13 of Clarity. Today's presentation is really going to be focused on the Clarity version 13 differences, Open Workbench, and Microsoft Project. So the real focus here is the differences, and I'm very excited about this new version. I've been working with Clarity for a while. So just a little bit about me. Just one of the hardest slides to talk about is yourself, but I'm excited to be part of the Digital Celerity team. I've been working with Clarity for about 7 or 8 years now, and been in project management for about 20-something years. Really excited to be part of the Project Management Institute Education Foundation Board of Directors, helping 13 to 19-year-olds become more prevalent in project management, and just involved a lot in project management and in different ways. The main focus of a presentation today is going to be on the differences of version 13 to the previous versions of Clarity. So I'm going to go through and describe some of the major focus differences. So the real major change in version 13 is on the user interface. So the first area we're going to focus in on is the access to the application menus and the changes in the accessing the menus within version 13. And then I'm going to talk about some of the navigational changes that are very exciting to help people adapt and adopt to Clarity and to use it effectively. Some new features that are in Clarity we're going to talk about today are the favorites menu. We're going to show how the favorites menu can be configured to show the things that you go to on a common basis. We're going to talk about inline editing. It replaces the edit mode capability within the previous versions of Clarity. Inline editing enables you to go in and actually add data to a particular field on the list page, kind of very similar to a spreadsheet. I'm also going to talk about the auto-suggest feature that's in Clarity for lookup values, where I can type in the first few letters of a value, and it would bring back everything that had that particular value. I'm going to go in and also talk about some of the changes in the object submenus. It's become very consistent now. Everything's a pull-down menu, and it really makes the navigation very easy within the deep details of an object. So that will show you those aspects as well. We're going to talk about the page button changes. Basically, one of the things I've done a lot in the past is train a lot of people on Clarity, and had to convert the save button was okay, but then the submit was saving and return, and then the cancel was to close. And then, let's see what happened here. Okay, I'm going back to my slide, just a lot lost. Okay, and then what I would have to do is I would have to, explain everything. So in the current case, the terminology on those buttons is very nice. A very exciting change in the version is the interactive Gantt chart. An interactive Gantt chart enables people that want to be able to schedule and do a lot of scheduling capability within the tool to have that capability, because it's very much like a look and feel of a Microsoft Project or an Open Workbench, and is very functional. And I'll show you the capability in that. We're going to also talk about a very nice new feature in Clarity version 13, which is the ability to assign resources to tasks from the entire resource pool. Now that's very important because some people have established a process where you add person to the team, and then you those people on the team are the ones that you would add to the tasks. And that's a very nice process, but there are times where you might want to add people to the tasks from the entire resource pool of resources within Clarity. And from a project-to-project basis, you can do that now within Clarity 13. I'm also going to talk about some of the new views and the task assignment views, where I can show you how you can do time-varying adding of effort. I'm also going to talk a little bit about some of the changes associated with financial management. And then finally, I'm going to get into talking about the aspect of Microsoft Project, Open Workbench, and Microsoft Project. So we'll get into this now and describe each of these areas. The first thing you'll notice is the login screen looks a little bit different within Clarity 13. The logo is in there, and it just looks a little different. And as you go through, I'll show you the comparison. So as you see, the version 12 and below had the old login page, and the new login page looks like this in the version 13. And as I go into the details of the application, I can see that in the previous versions of Clarity in version 12, every one of the menus was on the left-hand side of the page. And what that was that it could use the UI space up there. Now, when you go into version 13, the menus are at the top of the page. And they don't take up any space until you go ahead and hover over with the mouse and the cursor and open up the detail menu. And then you would go to the specific link that you need to access the application that you're looking for. So basically, each person would get the menu options that are applicable to their user rights, so that is controlled by user rights, and you can only access it by the specific user rights you've been given. And you can also access these menu keys by some of the shortcut keys that are available as well. That's a very nice way to make it very consistent to navigate throughout the tool. And if anybody here is an administrator of Clarity, I've been working a lot with 13 to do administration, and when you see the administration menu at the same time, you can actually very quickly and easily navigate within the home favorites and the administration menu as well. So another area that's changed significantly in the version 13 is the navigation of the tool for the icons, and the links on the right-hand side have changed significantly. So basically the new version, one thing I really like in this new version is the ability to see who you are logged in as. And if you're a person that would log in as many different users in a test environment, this is very helpful to see. Well, I'm logged in as myself here. I can see, what my user name is, and I can then also see very quickly and easy how to log out, what my help menu is, and my about menu. There's a consistent toolbar on the side that has things like the home menu, the timesheet, the most current timesheet, and the search menu. And then there are new icons for the user icons for personalization options, and for the Manage My Tabs is now an user icon. So there are some changes there that enable you to see some of the consistent ways that are involved with version 13 and how to navigate within the application. One of the very nice things for users to have now are two new changes called a back button and a recent button. The back button enables you to go back to the most recent page that you accessed very quickly by hitting the back button. And then the recent one is very helpful. I've actually used this quite a lot recently to keep a track of all of the things you've accessed during that session. So you may be, as an administrator, go into different parts of administration, into objects, into resources, back into the application itself, and it will keep a trail of all those different aspects that you've been to. and then you can simply go back to the link that you want to go back to by going back to the recent button. And that really helps with getting around quickly and getting back to where you need to go to. Also within the application now, the changes that have occurred are with the filter option. It's very easy and quick to get to the filter by clicking on the plus next to the filter to access the filter. And then instead of the actions drop-down, which was in the previous version of Clarity, there's now an options icon, which brings you back to be able to configure the page, to export to Excel, and those aspects that were in the actions menu before. There's also a consistent progress indicator that's on every page that shows you what your progress is, and the menu options across the top are very consistent from page to page as well. One thing that's changed in this version is that the font settings has been removed. And it's actually very easy now to change fonts by doing a Control plus to increase your font size, or Control minus to shrink the font size. Okay? I find one of the most exciting things in this version is the Favorites menu. If I go into Clarity and pick the Favorites menu, I can add links from the specific page that I'm on. I can organize the entries into specific sections, and then I can actually add favorites for specific projects, ideas, any specific item that I would use. So I can use it as a My Projects area that I can keep all of my favorite things I run. Run reports from this particular favorites menu. So it's very powerful to enable you to show the things that you access more often than anything else. In here, under the Favorites menu, I've got an example of one. I can use the Add Current, which if I'm on a current page, I hit the Add Current, and it enables me to add the current page to my favorites. I can configure the favorites to order the favorites in a specific order that makes sense for me. I can also then put them into different sections, as I've done here. And then as I make the changes in my configuration, I would hit refresh, and my favorites menu would reflect those new changes. So actually what I'm going to do now, I'm going to jump into Clarity and actually show you some of those features within the tool itself. Okay. So as we discussed earlier, the access to the menus is by clicking on the cursor or hovering the cursor over the menu itself, and it brings up all of the specific menus that are available under the home menu. And the same thing would happen if I went to the administration menu, and it would show me all the administration functions if I have the administration rights. Again, I'm logged in now as an administrator that has all rights. The menu that you would see as a particular user would be dependent on your user rights that you were given. Also here is my favorites menu, which enables me to see the things that I work with most of the time, and I put a few on here. It puts in my links for the ones that I keep adding, and I put a specific idea that I wanted to go to that would be under my favorites menu. I can use my back button to go back to a specific page. And then I can also go to my recent things that I've been to, and I can access any of these links and go back to those specific links that I have accessed in the previous time within the session that I'm in. Now, some of you may have a browser that would not enable you to see the right-hand side of the page. So if you would like to scroll over to the right-hand side of the page, I'm going to describe some of the icons that are here on the right-hand side of the page right now. So on that right-hand side of the page, I have the links for a logout. I have my name that describes who I'm logged in as. And previously, it was difficult to find out who I'm logged in as. And I like the fact that I can see right up front I'm logged in as myself. Which makes sense if I'm a one user that uses the user all the time, the same user. But sometimes in some environments you're testing the roles and testing different environments, and it's nice to see what particularly usually you're logged in as. Help is on this page as well, and About. And then you see the other icons that are consistent across the page, or a fresh icon, a house icon for the home page, and you can set that home page just like you could in version 12. There's a current timesheet that takes you to your current timesheet, and the search capability is still there. The new icons that are available on the front page, on the general page, and throughout the tool are the export to Excel, export to PowerPoint, personalization, and then the Manage My Tabs capability is now an icon. Okay? So I'm going to go back into my slide presentation and give you some more information about some of the exciting things that are in depth embedded in the tool as well. So one of the most exciting things I find in this new version is the ability to do inline editing. Inline editing is basically the capability to go into a page, a list page, and make quick insertions, updates, anything that makes sense for changing the data. Basically, it's used on all list pages, and you can actually add in change the data on that page. If I make a change on that particular list page, and I change the text or change the information, what will appear is a red caret. And the red triangle, I call it a red caret, but it's a red triangle, and it indicates that that the field has been changed, but you've not saved the data yet. So that you should go, if you want to change that item and save it, you should go ahead and save it, or just go back into the display mode and not save it. So like I said, it's the Save button clicks. You click the Save button to confirm the change, and then you discard by just going back to the display mode. And in some cases, there are a discard button as well. In the Gantt chart, there is a discard button. Okay, so this is what an inline edit looks like. I would click on the particular field and go in and change the specific item. I'd go in and when I make the change, the caret appears, the red triangle appears over the field that got changed, and it's unsaved until I hit the Save button. So there's another exciting thing that is in the list pages that makes it easy to get data added to particular items. It's called the Auto Suggest. It's for the items that are list, the lookup values. I can type in the first few letters of a value that I'm looking for, and as I type those letters, it's going to find only those items that have those particular letters in it. So in this particular case, I typed an MI, and it brought back myself and another person that has an MI anywhere in the field, and it just brings back two values out of the several hundred that I might have in my items. So it has a filters list, and then you pick the particular item that you want to add to that particular value. Okay. I'm going to show you some of those features right now within Clarity. So I came to a list page for projects, and I can go in very quickly and click on a particular item, and when I click on that item, it will bring it back into display mode. Let's see, go back in this one. I can bring up a project list page, and when I bring up a list page, it's going to show me all the lists on all the items on that project list. Yeah, so it took a second to improve that one. So basically, I can go ahead and add, this is call center improvement number 2. I move my cursor into another field, and as you see here, now that when I changed above, has got the red caret on it. If I go into a field that has a lookup value, I can type in a name. I'll type in my last name, Mills, and I'll actually go and get a list of people that have that set of values in there, and I'll add that value to the manager page. So you can do that for any of the lookups that the auto suggest has been set up for. Okay. So some other changes that have been made to make it very consistent to go into the tool is to go into, in previous versions of Clarity, to navigate within Clarity there were sub-tabs, there were sub-menus, and once you got used to them, they were very nice to work with, but it may have taken some time for people to get used to that terminology. So what I like about version 13, it's very consistent, and it all uses the pull-down options now. So whereas it used to be a sub-tab for the sub-projects, dependencies, and the baseline, now they become sub-headers under this header of properties and main on the properties for the project. And then we used to have sub-pages, which were, you had a general page, a schedule page, the risk, etc. And now we have the submenu under properties that represents those same pages that were the sub-pages before. So now we have everything very consistent. We have the main submenu, which is how it used to be the sub-pages, and then we have the properties sub-menu, which used to be the sub-pages that you could see on the side. Okay. Now, just a very simple change, but I think it was very effective for the new version of Clarity, is the action button name changes. In the action button name changes, there used to be save, submit, and cancel. And now the terminology has changed to save and return, which I think, which really is very self-explanatory. But I think it really helps for people to see, okay, what is it that I'm doing when I hit those action buttons? So I really liked that particular change in the version 13. Okay. I'm actually going to switch gears now into a very exciting new feature that's in Clarity version 13. It's called the Interactive Gantt chart. And the Interactive Gantt chart is a new item. It basically replaces the task work breakdown structure page that was in the Clarity version 12 and previous versions. And it's basically an interactive Gantt that has the tasks associated with it. It has the ability to do a hierarchy of tasks. You can insert tasks here. You can indent them, outdent them. So it has very much similar capabilities to Microsoft Project and Open Workbench. But the nice thing is that it is inside the active Clarity now. So you can actually work with it inside of Clarity. And it's very nice to be able to activate. So within the tool, you can activate the Gantt chart from the project list page, or My Projects. I can click on the Gantt icon. Anywhere I see the Gantt icon, I can click on the Gantt icon and bring up the interactive Gantt. Then I can go in and see the same thing on the projects page as well. I can also get to it from the Project Task tab as an item. And one thing I want to point out here, this again is another example of what used to be a sub-tab underneath the Tasks tab has now become a drop-down link, a sub-menu underneath the Tasks. So now I can get there from going to the Task link underneath the Tasks. I can also get there on my Properties page for the project. I can go to my schedule of choice still, if I want to, or I can go to my Gantt chart, which enables me to go straight to the Clarity Gantt and do my scheduling within the Clarity Gantt chart. So let's take a look at the Gantt chart in detail. The interactive Gantt has the toolbar, which is very consistent across many different tools. You have the ability to save and discard changes. You have the ability to baseline on this page. You can lock and unlock projects. You can do logic connections on this toolbar, indent and outdent tasks, and many different functions within here. On the right-hand side, it gives me the capability of changing the display of time. I can do it by weeks, months, quarters if I want to. And it really enables me to change the view in that particular way. I now have, again, the hierarchy capability within the tool. I can go in and indent and outdent tasks. I also have the inline editing capability that was available in all the other list pages. So I can actually go in and change task names and any of the other editable fields on this particular interactive Gantt page. Also within here, I can do a drag and drop. Enables me to change the dependencies, add dependencies, see the information associated with tasks through the drag and drop capability. And so I'll quickly show you that capability right now. So in the tool itself, again, I have the ability to go in and pick the time scale I want to look at. I can go for days, weeks, months, quarters, and years. I can also utilize the toolbar to expand all items if I want to, or collapse all items. I can use the toolbar to auto-schedule my schedule. I can lock a schedule. I can use it to create a baseline or update my cost totals. I can use it to just add new tasks or add existing sub-projects within the schedule. I can use my plus in the Gantt to basically open up different branches of the Gantt chart. I can add new fields to the Gantt chart by using the configure button, just like with any other list page within the tool. Within the actual bar area itself, I can hover over a particular bar to see the details of the bar itself. I can see the information associated with it. I can then create specific logic ties. I can view logic ties between specific items here and really interact with my schedule dynamically in this particular area.
Excuse me for interrupting. It's Karen
Yes.
Bodewin, Allan. I apologize. Are folks having problems seeing the screen? Because, Allan, we can only see the page 36 of the PowerPoint. It says Assign Resources
okay.
to Tasks.
Oh, you know what I need to go to is, okay, okay. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing I've learned. This is my first time using this today, so let me see.
There you go.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
Okay.
Sorry to
no
interrupt.
problem at all. Let me do that again. Thank you very much for telling me that. I'll do that part again because I think this is a very exciting part of the tool. Basically, you've got the time scale, which enables you to change the view that you see. I've got it set up in weeks right now because I like the weekly view. Sometimes you might want to go to a monthly view or a quarterly to get more of a macro view of the project. I can use my toolbar to change the aspects we were talking about earlier, where I can go in and create tasks. I can expand my schedule. I can collapse it. I can use my project locking capability. If I want to, I can utilize the auto schedule capability, baseline from here. So there's a lot of options here in the toolbar. And then this is the area that I'm glad you can see now. If I was to go into the bar area, I can hover over a bar. I can see the name of the bar. I can see the start and finish date. And if I click on an area on the any side of the bar, I can either see the logic tie that I've already created, or I can use it to create logic ties. And one thing that's very exciting about this, if I want to click on one end of the task and drag it down to another task and make a logic tie, it'll actually show me what it did. So I change it here, and it shows me that's a finish-to-finish relationship. If I keep my cursor over the bar that I'm changing at the time, it shows me that I'm trying to stay a finish-to-finish relationship as I'm actually creating that. So it's very nice and interactive. You can see the changes, you make the changes, and it enables you to do it directly within the Clarity tool.
Allan, thanks very much. I do want to say that it seems as if the demo started acting up at about 1:38 Eastern time. So I know that folks did miss the previous portion of that. What we will try to do at the end, if Allan has time, is to go back to the conversation that occurred in the demo that occurred right before that resource pool demo.
Yes.
Is that all right with you, Allan?
That's correct, yes. Yes,
okay,
exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't mind at all.
Okay, and now we're back to page 36 of the PowerPoint slide that shows tasks from the resource pool.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's great. I'm glad you caught that.
Okay.
Okay. So another area that's very new and gives a different capability that wasn't in previous versions is the ability to assign resources to tasks from a resource pool. That means that you can pull anybody that's in a resource in Clarity to become the resource that's assigned to a specific task. So this is done from project to project, which means that you can switch this on as adding resources to tasks from the resource pool for one specific project, and then for another project you can have it so that you follow the same rules that you do now, where you add someone to the team first, and then you add them to the task. So you have the capability to switch this on from one project to the next. And to activate this process, you browse for the resource or the role. And when you browse, it brings up the list of all the resources that are available. And one of the key items that it shows you is if you have the resource pool capability switched on, is this person a member of the team or not? So you still can add them to the team first, or you can just pull them straight from the resource pool to add them to a specific task, which in some cases can eliminate a couple of steps and make it easier for people to create a schedule. And finally, you would select the resource and role and add them to the particular task. And then once again, once you make the change, once you have the change in place and before you save, you have the red triangle that says you have a new resource added, and you need to save before you move away from that particular page. And this is where you would change. You change it right there on the Gantt chart. You'd have a save button that enables you to do that. it does in the background is it actually adds that particular person to the team so that they will become part of the team on the project going forward. So another very exciting thing that's in Clarity version 13 is on the task assignment view. The users can now edit time-varying estimates. And so the time-varying estimates are basically the ability to put in the time-varying changes in the effort associated with that particular individual. So if I click on a particular task, I would come to this page, and I can set up my task assignment view to where I have the task itself that I clicked on. Then I would see the resources that have been assigned to that particular task, their role and things like the loading pattern, start and finish date for the assignment. I'd also see the ETCs that were set up for that particular person by week. So I could change those weekly views to reflect the exact amount of effort that I think they'll be utilizing for that particular week. And then, once again, the red caret indicates the change has not been saved. Also, within Clarity 13, there are a few changes that have happened within the financial management area. There's some new financial planning attributes that you can see here. The cost plan is now a flat view, which allows for filtering, and also you can export it to Excel. In the cost plan, the actual transaction can be viewed, and if you get the PMO Accelerator, you can see that. Cost plans are now process-enabled, which is very huge, because now you can actually take a cost plan and enable it through the process engine and create the process where you can update fields and utilize a kind of workflow within Clarity. Cost plans can now have various periods, all within the same project. So you can vary the periods within a project. Addition of custom TSV can be added. And the cost plan now can have up to 10 groups by attributes. I'm just going to briefly go through some slides for some changes in Open Workbench that if you're an Open Workbench user, you'd find very useful. Basically, within Open Workbench now, the big changes are that it's a new user interface, which it's very nice to navigate. It's very similar to some of the other Office environments with the toolbar and the other aspects around the user interface. You can do a quick search now in Open Workbench. You can do selected scheduling, which is very nice because you can actually auto-schedule on a few tasks at a time, which is nice. And then as a quick creation of project plan, so you can quickly create a project plan right inside of Workbench. So now to launch Workbench, you do it right within the Properties page as a drop-down menu. Again, everything is consistent within 13 as a drop-down menu. Within the tool itself, there are some changes where a new ribbon interface, where you find all your commands that you would use within Open Workbench. The toolbar and the menus are inside that ribbon. So the first major ribbon there is the Tasks tab part of the area. And it gives you an option to quickly change rows from phase to task to milestone. It gives you the ability to indent and outdent feature, which basically you can configure your work breakdown structure very quickly. And then it gives you a quick search feature to find a specific item. And there's one undo that's available now in Open Workbench. In the Projects tab, has the following new features. The icon for auto schedule is labeled auto plan. The icon for the highlight field is labeled colors and shapes. So its naming conventions have changed a little bit within the new Open Workbench as well. You can access the quick access toolbar. Allows you to change the ribbons, to minimize the ribbons, change the view, add or remove commands within this particular view that you have. And then there is a new circular icon, which is very similar to some of the other 2010 Office products, where you go to the main menu by clicking on an icon at the top left-hand corner, and it brings you to the main option areas where you'd have properties that used to be properties, now as preferences, and would bring you to the major aspects that you would utilize for file control within the Open Workbench. Some of the tabs have changed a little bit. You've got color tabs now when you display two or more projects at the same time. And if you want to close a particular tab, you just click on the X next to that particular tab. And the About and Help icons are on the upper right-hand corner of the view now as well. This is a very big change within Open Workbench, where you can now go in and highlight specific tasks and just auto-schedule those specific tasks. You'd right-click on that particular task or milestone, and you click the auto-schedule command, which would bring up the dialog for auto-schedule. And when I auto-schedule the specific tasks, it just schedules those items and doesn't schedule the other ones. So I would auto-schedule to a specific date, set the options as needed, click OK, and it would show me my changes based on those specific tasks. And in this case, I show my dependency violation that happened because I just scheduled those two particular tasks. In Microsoft Project, there are a few changes now. The quick launch bar is changed. There is a functional ribbon bar, project timeline for full schedule display, and added new column and manual schedule options. I'm not going to show you many of the slides for this because there's a couple I want to show you because this isn't really a training on the Microsoft Project changes. That hasn't changed much in this version of Clarity itself, except for a couple of items. I'm going to show you the where the basically the File tab and Options is, and then I think one of the biggest changes using version 2010 is the fact that the Clarity Integration tab, if you're using the Clarity Integration, is now changed to icons. So you can now utilize the icons, Open Save, Save As, Browse Resources, and Recent as your icons to navigate within the integration capability within Microsoft Project. So just to conclude, I covered today the major changes that have occurred from version 13, the access, the application menu. We looked at how to navigate the application a bit and some of the changes there. We looked at configuring the favorites menu, how to use the inline edit, the auto suggest, which enables you to get to things very quickly. Some of the changes in the UI for this object submenus and the button changes on the pages. Looked at the new interactive Gantt capability, how you can navigate and add new tasks and manage your schedule within the interactive Gantt. Then you were able to assign resources to tasks from the resource pool. And we looked at how to basically add task assignments through the interaction with the time-varying ETCs. We looked at some of the open workbench differences, and we looked at some of the changes in Microsoft Project that have occurred. So want to thank you very much for attending.
Well, Allan, we're going to interrupt you for a second because I'm going to ask if you could go back to the interactive Gantt portion of the presentation.
Sure. Because
I believe that's where we lost a little bit of the feed.
Okay, no problem at all.
And if you could do that, that would be great. And in the meantime, and I do apologize for my continued interruption of your wonderful presentation, is folks, please get questions out there and get lined up either verbally or by phone or by typing in a question under the Q&A portion. And I just want to remind people that Allan does not work for CA. He, I'm sure, has all the answers, but may not. And answers that we cannot answer today, we will get back to the community via the website, our Global User Community site. And I just wanted to put that into consideration for everyone because I don't want Allan to feel that he has to have answers for everything today. We'll get what you need if we don't have it today.
Great.
And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Allan, and then Jeffrey will take over with the Q&A. Thank you very much, and again, apologies for interrupting.
No problem. Thank you for letting me know, and I'll be glad to run through this because this is probably one of the nicest, most exciting changes that have happened within the new version, within version 13. So I'll run through this again really quickly. I hit the back button, so there we go. Okay. So the interactive Gantt now replaces the task work breakdown structure page that used to be on Clarity 12 and before. It also, within this area, you can basically work with any kind of scheduling capability that you want to try and accomplish. So you can use it to manage your work breakdown structure. You can use it to add tasks, to be able to change logic dependencies within the schedule. To access the interactive Gantt chart, you can go to several places within my projects or with my project list page. I can click on the Gantt icon, and it would take me to the interactive Gantt for that particular project. I'm in a specific project, and I can go to my Tasks tab. And again, the Tasks tab now has drop-down menus that enable me to go straight to the actual link for that particular item. So I'll click on my Tasks tab and go to my Gantt link to get to the Gantt. Or if I'm on my Properties page, I can go to the Open in Scheduler and go to my Clarity Gantt link on that page. So within the Gantt itself, I've got a toolbar which enables me to access many specific areas, such as indenting tasks, being able to change logic ties, add new logic ties, add new tasks. I can put in baselines. I can basically change my auto-scheduling functions within here, lock the project, and I can change my timeline of my view. I can change it from days, weeks, months, and quarters. I can then utilize the indent capability and outdent capability to change the place in the work breakdown structure for particular items. I can go in and use the inline edit capability that's in most of the list pages within Clarity. I can click on the particular item and add in any more text as editable fields. I can then use the interactive Gantt to drag and drop the tasks around and change dependencies within the Gantt chart as well. So I'm going to go now into the interactive Gantt. And can you just give me an indication that you can see that?
Yes, we can see it.
Great.
Thank you.
Just want to make sure that you can see it. So basically in the Gantt chart, you have the toolbar, which enables you to really interact with the schedule. One of the areas you can change is the slice of data you're looking at, so I can look at it from a perspective of days, weeks, months, quarters, or years. I can use the toolbar to save my project, discard changes. I can utilize the button here to discard any changes. I can create new tasks from here. I can use it to add sub-projects into my schedule. If I want to do it right from here, I can add sub-projects into my schedule right from this area. I can do my resource assignments, indent and outdent. I can use it for logic connections, expanding and collapsing the schedule. I can use it to lock my schedule, auto schedule, and baselining I can do within the toolbar. I can use the area within the display to show information. I can configure it to add new fields. I can go ahead and use the plus sign to expand the specific section of my work breakdown structure. And then I can, again, use the inline edit to change an item. In the interactive Gantt section of the tool, I can utilize it to show more information about the particular task. I can also go ahead and add logic, change logic dependencies between tasks. In this case, I click on the end of one task and drag it to another task, and it's going to show me the type of dependency I'm going to try to create. In this case, I'm trying to create a finish-to-finish relationship, and it will kind of show me that until I drop it on there. And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it as it is there. So this enables me to really be very interactive with my schedule, and then I can auto-schedule the items, and it would actually create my plan. Then the beauty of this is the fact that it's all inside of Clarity, and you don't have to interact with another tool. Now, of course, if you do have another tool, you can stay with that option, and it works very nicely with this version. But for people that are starting out new, or you wanted to have a simple way of actually creating and managing schedules, this is a nice option for them. Okay, I'm going to go back now to the presentation. And I'll leave the summary page here.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Alan.
Thank you so much, Alan. We have a number of questions. The first one is not even in the question list. Thank you, Karen. Richard Shapiro has indicated that Digital Celerity is willing to make the presentation available on the GUC website for your use as a PDF. We will also, as usual, be making a recording of the webcast available on the GUC website within the next day. It takes a little time to get that set up. Okay, let's go through. Operator, do we have any called-in questions before I get into the 19 that we have on the Q&A tab?
And you do have a question from Venkata Kanakala.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Venkata, your line is open.
I'm good, thank you.
And there are no further audio questions.
All right, thank you, operator. One question that was asked early, Alan, you may not know this, is can the new login page be customized?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll take that on advisement and follow up afterwards. Okay. Another question was how, I presume this was from Ravenberg, and it is how is this related to resource book rights? I assume that came up early in the presentation when you were adding resources to tasks.
So to booking rights. Basically, it would come in with the default. So let me go back to that particular page. Basically, what would happen is whatever your default booking would be. So it's like with anything within Clarity, you define your rules. But if it's a default booking, soft booking is the default, then it would actually be created as a soft booked resource to the team.
Okay. All right. The next question. Our fiscal year starts August 1st. On the Gantt chart for anywhere else in Clarity, or anywhere else in Clarity, can the beginning of the fiscal year, then the appropriate fiscal quarters, be used instead of the calendar year?
Let's go back to the Gantt. I believe the Gantt, what the Gantt does, and that's related to the Gantt chart, is it takes the view here from the very first date of the first task and starts from that aspect. So it's not really looking at the fiscal part of that. It's looking at it basically would start with the first task and display the task from that aspect.
Okay. Next question. Beverly has asked, the inline presentation could not, that has to do with our presentation. Is there any change to collaboration? Previously, you needed to be a project participant to view this tab. That's the first question.
I haven't seen any changes in that area. I'm not up, but I wouldn't be. I haven't. That might be a good question for CA on that one.
Okay. Second one from Beverly is, does adding a resource inline automatically add the resource as a project participant? Related to the first question.
If that's the default, it would, because part of setting up the default, if you add a person to the team, if your default is set up where a team member becomes a participant, what it does in the background when you add a person from the resource pool, then that would be the case. You can set your settings so that the team member doesn't become a participant, and you would have to add them individually. But if you set up the rule for the person to be a team member if they're a participant if they're a team member, then that will still be the case.
Okay. Beverly's last question. On the interactive Gantt, I assume you can add new columns beyond what was displayed for the demo.
That's correct, yes. Yes, so you can use the circle, the new wheel circle, to configure, and when you configure, then you can add new columns from any of the available columns that are for a particular task.
Okay. Lowell's asked several questions, the first of which is, what version of Excel is compatible with version 13 of Clarity?
I'm certain 2010. Now, I know that there's a description that describes what is compatible, and so I'm certain 2010 because that's the most current version of Excel. I would have to refer back to that to be accurate for what that would be.
Okay. Can you download directly into Excel 2010? I assume that would be another variation of that. And what file formats?
File formats. You can
CSV
definitely
versus
save
Excel.
it. Yeah, you can save a CSV, Excel, and then it's PowerPoint as well. You can save it as a PowerPoint.
And is there a facility to select different versions, possibly XLS versus SLXX?
That's a good question.
I think we might want to refer back to release notes on that and not commit to a response there.
Yeah.
I agree, Karen. Lowell has another, no question there. Is the auto-suggest feature only available in inline editing?
No, actually it's available everywhere that particular field is available. One of the most important areas is in the filter. So if you were in a filter and you wanted to actually use it to filter by as well. You could use it there, or anywhere that particular lookup is available.
Good. All right. Next question from Jolie. Well, how many CA customers are using version 13 now? I don't know if you would have that information.
Yeah,
Allan?
Yeah, I wouldn't know that one. Yeah.
You probably need to get with your CA representative on that. Could references be provided to customers on V12? Again, I think we would have to refer you to your CA rep for that kind of information. So Clarity version 13 definitely supports MSP 2010. Does it also work with previous versions of MSP or Microsoft Project?
Pray to refer to the release notes for that one too.
Yeah, we'll leave that there. Does adding a resource directly to the project without going to the team tab create allocation records and data?
Yes, it does. Basically, it's going to create a new team member, and it's going to take whatever the default allocation is associated with, whatever you set up as a default allocation. Out of the box, Clarity has an allocation as 100% for the duration of that particular, whatever duration you've set up for that particular individual on the project. And so it's going to set up the allocation based on that profile. And a lot of times, as a practice, I would set it up where there would be set up a 0 allocation. And that's just a practice I follow when I work with customers, just so that basically someone has to put in allocation segments, but it will create them, yes.
Okay. Here's a question from Linda Chang that you may or may not be able to answer. We may need to refer this to CA. Will the interactive Gantt be available for custom portlets built on the task object?
I probably have to refer, like you said, to refer back what other capabilities to CA on that one.
Okay. Let's move on. Stuart has asked, with Open Workbench, the icon said auto plan, but the menu option on the task list said auto schedule, as did the dialog box that came up. Is this the only icon for auto plan that has been renamed from auto schedule? Didn't notice that myself.
I'll check on that one.
Yeah, I think we can refer that to CA as well. Gene Streeters has asked, to use the time-based assignment feature, does the resource loading pattern need to be fixed?
Yes, it does. Yes.
When using the resource pool, is the list filtered to only named resources open for time entry?
It's whatever you've configured it to be from the default, and I don't know that answer. I believe that it's going to look for everybody in the resource pool, but I have to check on that one.
Okay. Noreen has asked an interesting question that you probably won't be able to answer, or you might, but we probably want to refer to the release notes, which is what will we lose when moving to version 13? The release notes do contain some specific discussions of what has been deprecated and what has been removed. Can I make any comment here, Allan?
No, I think the release notes have covered that fairly well. The one comes to mind right now is that font, changing of the font. That was one of the areas that changed, has been removed. So that was one we found was a big change. It was how to change the font size.
There's some tables and some other things that have been changed as well, but I think everybody needs to look at the release notes for those. Somebody nationwide asked a question on the sandbox. It's not for you, Allan. Steve's still with us. Does it include access to the CA Productivity Accelerator? I don't know the answer to that. Does anybody on the board know?
Yeah, but we can certainly post that answer back on the GUC site once we get it. Once we get a response from CA. We're in the process of building everything now with CA, so that is probably a to be determined.
Okay. Are there functional differences between Clarity version 13 installed on a dedicated server and on demand in the cloud? For instance, creating pages, links, buttons, installing reports, etc.
That's probably a good question for the CA reps as well. I'm not sure on that aspect. It's more of a technical question that they might be able to answer on that particular aspect. Yeah.
Marty K has asked, he has stated, helped us out, there are tips on the forum of how to customize the login page. Thank you, Marty. Cooper, probably Patrick, can you reorder tasks in the interactive GAN? Can you see the overall resource demand when adding a resource?
Yes, you can see the. You can change the order. There's a capability to move tasks around, and you can put in the. I believe you can add the ETC field on the configure.
Okay. And as far as the overall resource demand when adding a resource?
That's what it would be, the ETC, the demand,
okay.
the demand that they would want for that particular the resource.
Luke has asked a question that I believe Steve already answered as to whether or not the accelerators are installed in the GUC sandbox. And if I heard you correctly, Steve, they will.
It was Karen. No, we don't know yet. We'll definitely find out.
All right. Thank you, Karen.
Steve, I apologize.
Alice Roth has asked, are benefit plans workflow enabled in the same way that cost plans are? Good question.
Good question. I would have to refer back on that one.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all of the typed-in questions.